Okay, so I'm not exactly sure what part you're getting confused with on these problems, but I did notice that both problem 7 and 13 involved a distributive property. It's kind of a trick. They and both these problems use the same sort of trick that's very common to use. So I'll show you where that comes in, and I'll explain it. Um, they do explain how to do this, but I'll just make sure you see where it's happening, and I'll also explain all the other steps. Hopefully this will clear it up. Okay, so first off, we have x in the exponent, um, and in two different places, as you can see, x is located in both these locations. So you should know that we would want to use or convert it into logarithmic form. So we have log of 3/5 to the x power equals log 7 1 minus x. So first off, I realize that I could have chosen ln. It doesn't matter what log I use, as long as it's the same log on the left side and the right side. I'm in good shape. So most convenient ones would be log, which is base 10, because most calculators have that. Usually you want to stick with log or ln. Most calculators have log and ln on their calculator on them. So um, I could have just easily chosen ln. Um, okay, so from here we're using the power property of logarithms, and which allows us to move the exponent to the front and multiply that exponent. So we'll have x log, and then we have 3/5, and then similarly we'll have 1 minus x as our exponent. So we want 1 minus x. We want parentheses around that because we want all that entire exponent to multiply by the log. So there we go. Okay, so now at this point, um, well, we want to use the distributive property, but you should know at this point our general objective, and that's where the trick comes in. Now, you may know this property, but when you have more than one term with an x, as you can see, and I'll go ahead and distribute this here first. So let me do that before I start talking about this. So distribute log 7 through the parentheses, and we have log 7 minus x log 7. Okay, so notice that there's two terms with x. Since there's two terms with x, our general process, if we're trying to solve for x, is to get all the terms with x on one side of the equation. So this term has an x, and this term has an x, and then the log 7 does not have x. So we'll have the log 7 on one side and all the x terms on the other side. So all the x terms on one side, all the non-x terms on the other side. So we have x log of 3/5 plus x log of 7 equals log of 7. Okay, so all we did was just add x log 7 to both sides of the equation. So we get this, and now realize that both our terms here, we have all the terms with x are on the left side of the equation. And what's nice about this is we're solving for x. So we have a greatest common factor, or in this case, it's the greatest common factor, but we have a common factor of x. It may not even be the greatest common factor, but you want to make sure you factor just the value that we're trying to solve for. So we have x, so So we factor using the distributive property, we obtain the following. So notice what we did here is the value we're solving for, we factored out, because if all the terms with x all the terms with x are on one side, then in that case we know that we're going to have a common factor of x, the value we're solving for, so we can factor that out, which is very convenient. So that's the trick. You may be familiar with this. If you're not, then this is just a tool you'll have in your bag that you'll be able to pull out and use when you have a circumstance where you're solving for a variable and you have more than one term with that variable. So this is how you would go about it. So at this point, all we need to do is divide by what's left inside the parentheses, and magically we solve for x. So we have log of 7 over log of 3/5 plus log of 7. Okay, that is it. So you'll want to use your calculator for this, and you'll end up getting a solution approximately equal to 1.356. Any concerns with inputting this in your calculator? I'll just show you. You'll want to, if you have a TI-83, you'll have a, or something similar. You have log of 7, and then you'll want to divide by, and then put parentheses, and then do log of 3/5 is 0.6. You can just do that, plus log of 7, close parenthesis, and that should give you 1.356. Okay, so let me know if you have any other concerns. You'll notice that problem 7 involves the same trick, where you have more than one term with the variable you're solving for at a certain point, and you'll want to get all those terms on one side of the equation, and then factor out that value you're solving for, x in this case, and then you can solve for x pretty easily like that. So let me know if you have any other concerns. It's a little confusing, but hopefully this makes sense.